Xi Jinping told Joe Biden not to, quote, provoke troubles in a call yesterday. So today, he sent his attack dog, Janet Yellen, on a mission to save the world from the greatest threat to humanity, climate change.
Nowhere on Yellen's agenda is there time set aside to address how China is complicit in the poisoning of Americans with fentanyl or the rise of Chinese migrants crossing our southern border.
But hopefully the Treasury Secretary won't find herself with too much downtime, because we know what happens when Yellen lets loose overseas.
There was a delicious mushroom dish. I was not aware that these mushrooms had hallucinogenic properties. I learned that later.
Oh, my goodness. All right, let's bring in the chair of the Conservative Climate Caucus, Iowa Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. Just want to get your reaction with Janet Yellen going over to China and talking about climate, not China killing American citizens.
I think it's unconscionable that we are not talking about the human rights abuses in China and the fact that China is sending the precursors to fentanyl and synthetic fentanyl to Central America and Mexico, and that's coming across our border in record numbers with record overdoses of American population. And then add on top of that the record number of Chinese nationals that are coming across this country, that they are military age. You have no idea who they are, what their intentions are. And I think that's a huge problem. So we know that the Chinese Communist Party is our greater adversary. We know that they probably unleashed unwittingly a leak through the Wuhan Institute of Virology, COVID-19, upon the world, which led to record number of deaths. But yet we're going to go over and talk to the Chinese Communist Party about climate change. Meanwhile, President Biden's policies actually outsource and benefit the Chinese Communist Party with tax credits that they'll be able to take advantage of through the green tax credits, which is absurd.
Take that a step further, Congresswoman, because we know with these tailpipe emissions regulations that came out of the EPA, in just a few years, almost roughly 2/3 of vehicles will have to be electric in this country. There's no way that the automakers here can meet these goals. Do you think that they're up to something, that they will allow for the importation of, say, Chinese-made EVs, say BYD and the like, because they're cheap?
Well, that certainly is a concern that, China has a lock on part of the market in electric vehicles and also electric batteries. Although those are, coming to the United States, they're not here yet. We do have electric car manufacturing, but you're correct. The EPA's tailpipe emission rule will require 2/3 of vehicles in the United States to be electric. And that's within 8 years. Number one, we don't have the infrastructure. Number two, I'm in Iowa. We know it gets cold up here in the north. We know that the charge of the battery doesn't last as long and the chargers don't work as well, and they're not practical. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have choice in vehicles. Certainly, if an electric vehicle makes sense to you and it should be made in the United States, but to have the tailpipe emission rule hurts the United States, and it helps the Chinese Communist Party, which is our greatest adversary. So, when we're talking about how do we benefit American workers, how do we benefit the American economy, it is not through policies such as the EPA's tailpipe emission rule, or there are other policies that, the courts in California took down the gas stove mandate in California, which was remarkable that it was the courts in California that would actually, put that to waste, where we should have our choice in stoves. We know that the United States has lowered emissions more than any other country, far beyond what was the goals. We've done that through natural gas. We know that the fracking revolution has saved countless lives by having affordable, abundant energy. We need affordable, abundant energy to be able to compete with China.
Congress, I want to switch gears to this quickly, because Democrats are looking to capitalize on abortion as a key 2024 issue. Their next target, well, that's Republican doctors in Congress, including you. Watch this.
As patients, we trust our doctors. But this doctor broke her oath to do no harm. Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks supports an extreme ban on abortion.
Congresswoman, you're a part of the conference and you're part of this attack ad. Are you guys ready to fight Republicans in Congress, willing to fight back against these fake, false ads and call the real extremists out, which are the Democrats?
Well, 100%. These are lies. They are fabrications. And that's because they don't have anything to run on. They can't run on the economy because the American people are hurting. They're paying record prices at grocery stores, at the gas pump, record interest rates, which translates into rent and trying to buy a house or to upgrade a house. They can't run on crime because they have caused the increase in crime by defunding the police, by no cash bail. They can't run on the border because they've wide opened our borders with record amount of fentanyl and people on the terrorist watch list coming across our borders. So what are they going to run on? They're going to run on lies and abortion. Right. I passed in the state Senate of Iowa in 2019, ran a bill and passed it on oral contraception over the counter. We support IVF, and there is no bill that they can point to that has any limits on IVF. So they're going to run on lies. They're going to run on an agenda. Meanwhile, we're going to say the extremes on abortion are the Democrats. They passed a bill in the House to have abortion at up to the time of birth.
Yep.
Everybody agrees that that is extreme. That's what's extreme. That's their record, and we're going to call them on their record.
Good.
Congresswoman, thank you so much. Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks. Be well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. All right.
Go Hawks.
Now.